Hello guys, welcome to another video here on Burp Suite Repeater, and this is under the Web Fundamentals learning part here on Tryhackme. We finished the How the Web Works module, Introduction to Web Hacking module, and we're currently here on the Burp Suite module, and today we're treating the Burp Suite Repeater. Without further ado, let's jump right into it. Now in this room we're going to learn how to use the repeater to duplicate requests in Burp Suite. So it's basically duplicating requests in Burp Suite. So right, task 1, introduction. I'm going to quickly start this mission because definitely we'll need that. And now let's dive in. It says, welcome to the Burp Suite repeater room. In this room we'll explore the advanced capabilities of the Burp Suite framework by focusing on the Burp Suite repeater model, building upon the foundational knowledge covered in Burp Suite Basic. We will delve into the powerful features of the repeater tool. You will learn how to manipulate and resend captured requests, and we will explore the various options and functionalities available in this exceptional model. Throughout the room, we will provide practical examples, including a real-world exercise to solidify your understanding of the concept discussed. If you are new to Burp Suite or have not completed the Burp Basic room, we recommend doing so before proceeding. Now the Burp Basic room establishes the fundamental knowledge necessary for this room and will enhance your learning experience. Okay, so deploy the target virtual machine attached to this task by pressing the green start machine button on the top here. We already done that. And also start the attack box by pressing the blue start attack box button on the top of this machine if you are not using your own machine. So basically I'll be using my own machine here, so I already have my Burp Suite up. Okay, now yeah, so then start Burp and follow along with the new stack. So my Burp is fired up, and I might just want to put it this way. No, that's not how I wanted it. Okay, let me put it this way and put Burp this way. How about that? So great. So we're done with task 1. Let's hit complete and let's head into task 2. What is repeater? Okay, before using Burp Suite repeater, let's familiarize ourselves with its purpose and functionalities. Okay, in essence, Burp Suite repeater enables us to modify and resend intercepted requests to a target of our choosing. Now it allows us to take requests captured in the Burp proxy and manipulate them, sending them repeatedly as needed. Alternatively, we can manually create requests from scratch, similar to using a command line tool called call, which is client URL. Okay, now the ability to edit and resend requests multiple times makes repeater invaluable for manual exploration and testing of endpoints. It provides a user-friendly graphical interface for crafting request payloads and offers various views of the response, including a rendering engine for a graphical representation. Now, the repeater interface consists of 6 main sections. I'll dive right to the repeater interface here, but first I might want to just jump into proxy here and open up a browser. I don't know why it's detaching, and let's retouch it back and intercept on, and let's open up that browser again and let's just type tryhackme.com, and here we go. It intercepted this, and so I'm just going to send this to repeater, and let's use this to describe what we see here. So this is much more similar, right? So let's just send here and let's get a response. So good. Now the repeater interface consists of 6 main sections as depicted in the annotated diagram below, and over here is the first one. The first one is the request list. The request list is what we see here. Located at the top left of the bar, it displays the list of repeater requests. Multiple requests can be managed simultaneously, and each new request sent to repeater will appear here. So you can add here, add the HTTP, and then you can do the same thing. You can add a WebSocket and so on and so forth. So let's just close this. Okay, so let's come back to the request list. So this is just request list. Now the next is request control. Number 2, request control is right here. Now it's positioned directly beneath the request list, which is here. This controls allows us to send a request, cancel a hanging request, and navigate through the request history. So we can send here, you see it gets here, we can edit this. If we edit this, put it 1, and then we send, and so on and so forth, the response we're getting and all that. Okay, so basically this is the request controls. You can look at history. We can cancel if one is hanging, we can cancel, and then we can go through history and so on. You see all the things you've gone through before and so on and so forth. You can select here and then go back to the history. The third is request and response view. The request and response view 1, 2 request response is basically occupying the majority of the interface. This section displays the request and response view. This is the request we captured and we're playing around with, and the response is whatever comes after we click on send. Right now we can edit the request in the request view and then forward it, while the corresponding response will show in the response view. Okay, next is the layout options. The layout options is located around here. Layout options. Now located at the top right side of the request/response view, which is here. It is basically the options that enables us to customize the layout of the request and response views. The default setting is a side-by-side horizontal layout, which is what we see right now, but we can choose to also select like a vertical layout or combine them in a separate tab. So this is the vertical layout where we have the request on the top and the response on the bottom, or we could have that basically in separate tabs. So request, you come over here for the response. So usually this is kind of like the best, I guess. I'm used to that. The fifth one here is in inspector. Inspector is what we see the whole of here, right? It's more like the last set, part of that page or the interface. Positioned on the right hand side, the inspector allows us to analyze, modify requests in a more intuitive manner than using a raw editor. This is the raw editor right here. Okay, so if you wanted to just add, especially let's say you wanted to add, let's say a referrer or so on and so forth on the headers, you can come here and click on that, and then go to the bottom. You're going to see plus, and you click plus to add a header, something like that. Okay, so it's a more intuitive manner. We will explore this feature in the later tags. Okay, now target is the last interface here, which is the 6th section. It's here, target, as you can see here. What is target? Target is situated above the inspector right here. Close this. What did I do? Open that back. Okay, let me just close the request header. Great. Now situated above the inspector, the target field specifies the IP address or domain to which the requests are sent. So this is what we see here. When requests are sent to repeater from the Burp Suite component, this field is automatically populated. So basically that's it. Now which sections gives us a more intuitive control over our requests? Which section gives us the more intuitive control? That should be the inspector. Remember, inspector, instead of using the raw version, you can use inspector. So answer here should be inspector. Hit submit, and voila. Let's head on to task 3. Okay, task 3, basic usage. We know what the application's interface look like at this point, but how can we effectively utilize it? While manual request crafting is an option, it is more common to capture a request using the proxy module and subsequently transmit it to a repeater for further editing and resending, just like we did earlier. But once a request has been captured in proxy module, just like we did here on proxy, over here on this this orange module, we can send it to repeater by either right clicking on the request and select send to repeater, just like we did initially, or we can just click Ctrl R and you see the repeater here will turn orange. Okay, I need to send it here. Remember, it's now populated the fourth page here. Initially we were here and I created 2 open slots right here, and then this was the fourth one. Okay, now shifting our focus back to repeater, we can observe that our capture request is now accessible in the request view, just like you can see here on the request view. All right, everything here looks similar, right? Okay, now both the target and inspector session now displays relevant information, albeit we are currently lacking a response. Upon clicking the send button, the response view swiftly populates. Send, and there we go. Correct. Now should we wish to modify any aspect of the request, we can simply type within the request view right here and press send again. So basically make a request change right here and then send, and it will just populate that the request right there. The action will update in the response view on the right accordingly. For instance, altering the connection header to open instead of close yields a response with a connection header containing the value keep alive. Okay, let's write on. Let's I think we'll get more of this if we use the target's IP address that we're using here. So let's go over to proxy and let's intercept off. Okay, intercept on. I forgot to turn on the intercept. Let's open browser again. So I'm going to type in. So I'm going to hit enter here and see if it captures that. Okay, should have captured it because it's hanging. So let's just go back here. Let me forward this. That's not it. And forward this. That's not it. Forward this. Forward. I think this is it. This is it. So basically I'll just send this to repeater, and let's go back to repeater. On the repeater, this is what we have. We click send, and here we got the result. So basically on this particular connection is closed, and if you notice the connection here is closed. So if I put this connection and set it to open and then hit send again, we're going to get a response that says connection keep alive. Okay, so that's basically what we're trying to show here. Okay, now furthermore, we can utilize the history buttons situated to the right of the send button to navigate through our modification history, allowing us to move forward or backward as needed, just like we can do from here and so on. So which view will populate when sending a request from proxy mode to repeater? The view that will populate should be the request view, right? Request, hit enter. Correct. Let's head on to task 4. Task 4 here says message analysis toolbar. Repeater provides us with various request and response presentation options, ranging from hexadecimal output to a fully rendered page. To explore these options, we can refer to the section located above the response box, where the following 4 views buttons are available. So we have pretty, raw, hex, render, right? So we get to see that. Now we are presented with the following display choices. First is the pretty. This is a default option which takes the raw response and applies slight formatting enhancements to improve readability. So basically that's what you see here on the pretty. The raw option displays the unmodified response directly received from the server without any additional formatting. So this looks more pretty, but if you click on raw, you can see basically here it's just more like unmodified, just the way it comes. Hex, by selecting this view, we can examine the response in a byte level representation, which is particularly useful when dealing with binary files. So if you click on hex here, you can see it's in binary, right? Last is the render. The render option allows us to visualize the page as it would appear in a web browser, while not commonly utilizing a repeater. As our focus is usually on the source code, it still offers a valuable feature. For most scenarios, the pretty option is generally sufficient. However, it is beneficial to be acquainted with the usage of the other 3 options. So if you click on render, that should be able to render out how it looks like on the web page. Basically, it's appearing more like a view of how it looks on the web page. Okay, Okay, so basically that's how it looks when it's rendered. Adjacent to the view buttons on the right hand side, we find the show non-printable over here. That's not the one. Show non-printable characters button, this one here. Okay, this functionality enables the display of characters that may not be visible with the pretty or raw options. For example, each line in the response typically ends with the character /r/end. Let's just see here on the raw. If you turn on this, you get the /r/n, right, representing a carriage return followed by a new line. Just shows after this is a new line, after this is a new line, right? Okay, these characters play an important role in the interception of HTTP headers. While not mandatory for most tasks, the option can prove advantageous in certain situations. Okay, now which options allows us to visualize the page as it would appear in a web browser? That should be render, and I'll hit enter. That's it. Task 5, inspector. Inspector is a supplementary feature to the request and response views in the repeater model, just like we see here on the right hand side. It is also used to obtain a visually organized breakdown of responses, of requests and responses, as well as for experimenting to see how changes made using the high level inspector affect the equivalent raw versions. Now, inspector can be utilized both in proxy and repeater mode. In both instances, it is situated on the far right side of the window, just like you see here. So if you go back to proxy, you would also see the inspector right here. Okay, in both instances, presenting a list of components within the request and response. So we have the request attribute, request query parameters, request body parameters, request cookies, request headers, and request headers. Okay, now among these components, the section pertaining to the request can typically be modified, enabling the addition, editing, and removal of items. For instance, in the request attributes section, we can alter elements related to the location, method, and protocol of the request. This includes modifying the desired resource to retrieve, changing the HTTP method from get to another variant, or switching the protocol from HTTP 1 to HTTP 2, and so on and so forth. Just like you click on this here on the request attribute, you can switch it to here. You can change the method here from get to, or call the post method here, and then you can just apply changes. Once you do that, you see it shows here. Okay, if you see send, it should give you a response as with regards to what you've done. So we didn't get anything because this request doesn't have like a post method, so we hit back and we can get our changes back. Okay, other sessions are available for viewing and or editing include request query parameter. This refers to the data sent to the server via the URL. For example, in a get request like http admin.tryhackme.com/query string redirect equals to false, the query parameter redirect has a value of false. So in these situations, we can always change that. Let's go back and let's close this. Parameter here is 0 because we don't have a query parameter in this particular issue, which is there's nothing here. Now, request body parameter similar to query parameters but specific to post requests. Any data sent as part of a post request will be displayed in these sections, allowing us to modify the parameter before sending. Request cookies. This section contains a modifiable list of cookies sent with each request. Request headers. It enables us to view, assess, and modify, including adding and or removing any headers sent with a request. Now, editing these headers can be valuable when examining how a web server responds to unexpected headers. Response headers. Now, this section displays the headers returned by the server in response to our request. It cannot be modified as we have no control over the headers returned by the server. Note that this section becomes visible only after sending a request and receiving a response. So that's when you get response headers. So we've actually done that a couple of times, and hence why we're getting this, right? While the textual representation of these components can be found within the request and response views, Inspector's tabular format provides a convenient way to visualize and interact with them. Experimenting with header additions, removals, and edits An edit in inspector helps grabs how the corresponding raw version changes in response. Okay. Which section in inspector is specific to post requests? Specific to post requests, we just mentioned that these are the request body parameters. That should be body parameters. So let's just type body parameters and see parameters and see this is specific to, yes, the post request. We mentioned here post request. Any data sent as part of a post request will be displayed in this section. Let's go on to practical example, right? Good. Repeater is particularly well suited for tasks requiring repetitive sending of similar requests, typically with minor modification. This is particularly useful for activities such as manual testing for SQL injection vulnerabilities to be covered in a forthcoming task, attempting to bypass web application firewalls filters, or adjusting parameters in a form submission. Let's begin with an exceedingly simple example, utilizing a repeater to modify the headers of the request sent by the target. So we already got this. Let me send this again to the repeater. Let's head into repeater. Right here we are. Now capture a request sent by this, which is 10.10.216.216 in the proxy model, and send to repeater, which you've done. Send the request once from repeater. You should see the HTML source code from the page you requested in the response view. So let's send this here and let's get the HTML source code right here. Okay, try viewing this in one of the other display option. Example hex. If you just click on hex, you can all see that raw. You can see render. It might take to see render. Just give that to us, right? Okay, now using inspector or manually if you prefer, add a header called flag authorized and set it to have a value true as shown below. All right, we can use the two, but let's just use the header here. So let's use the request header here and let's add, and then let's type in flag authorized. That should be authorized, and the value here we're setting the value to true. Okay, and then we'll add that. You can see here flag authorized true just appeared right here. Okay, once you do that, let's send and let's see if we can get. Okay, we did get a flag. So basically we just learned how to successfully add a header and paste that here. Alternatively, if you go back, you can come over here and add what we'll call flag authorized, and we can put that to be true, and then just hit send. That should give us an answer. Okay, just note that after in typing we should give 2 spaces, more like 2 spaces after that. Let's cancel that and then let's send again, and let's see, boom. So you need to leave 2 spaces right after you fill anything right here. So that we got the flag, we submit, and there we go, correct answer. But let's see, what was the hint here? Okay, so the question hint here was make sure you leave the 2 blank lines at the bottom of the request. So basically, like you noticed, it didn't go through when we had just one line space here. So leave 2 line space and you get the response. Let's head on to task 7, challenge, right? Okay, now in the previous task we demonstrated the usage of repeater by adding a header and sending a request. Now this served as an illustrative example for utilizing repeater. Now it's time for a straightforward challenge. To begin, make sure intercept is disabled in your proxy module and navigate to this particular website on product. Next, try clicking on some of the see more links and observe that you are redirected to numeric endpoint example /product/3. The objective is to validate the endpoint, confirming the existence of the number you wish to navigate to and ensuring that it's valid integer. However, consider what might occur if this endpoint is not adequately validated. Okay, let's go back to this and let's see. Let's quickly go back to proxy and have our intercept off, and let's try to go back to our page here, right here. Yes, this is the page. So we want to go to products. Let's click on our products, and here we go. Right here you can see the URL / products, and let's try clicking on some more. See more, and that's under VPS. As you can see, it has the products one / products one, and so on and so forth. Now like we see, we want to be sure of the endpoint right here, so we have a lot of products. If I go back and if I scroll down a little bit, we have manage hosting, see more. Once I click on that, it takes us right to product number 2, and so on and so forth, and so on and so forth. You can just play around. Let's see web design, and then we'll have its products 4/3. Let's see what the challenge involves. So we have to enable intercept again and capture a request to one of the numeric products endpoints to the proxy model, then forward it to repeater. So let me take this back here. Let's go back here and turn our intercept on. Intercept is on now, so let's head on to this and hit send more. We've got an intercept from that particular subject, and you can see here get /product 4/3. Let's send that to repeater. Right here we are on repeater. Let's send, and let's get a response from it. So right here we are, so we're done with this. Okay, now see if you can get the server to error out with 500 internal server error code by changing the number at the end of the request to extreme inputs. What is the flag you receive when you cause a 500 error in the endpoint? Now basically we can come over here and let's see if we can put the product worth of 1000. Remember, this is the particular, there's no error message because this is a complete response. So if we hit send now, let's see what we get. We get 404 not found, right? What if I type in 5000 and hit send? We get 404 not found. What if I type in 0 and hit send, and we still get 404 not found? So what if I use -1 and hit send? There we go, 500 internal server error. We successfully got that. So you can imagine playing around with this and having to insert something that changing the number at the end of the request to extreme input. This is not, it's trying to let the server know that, hey, there's nothing, I can't really process this request because there's no such thing as -1 here in the database. So if we scroll down a little bit, let's see if we can get our flag. Here we go. So this is our flag right here. Copy that and copy, and let's insert that here and hit submit. Okay, now let's head on to task 8, extra mile challenge. Now this task is designed to test your skills in a slightly more challenging real world scenario utilizing Burp repeater. Now if you possess the expertise to independently perform a manual SQL injection, you can just skip ahead to the final question and attempt this as a blind challenge. However, a detailed walkthrough will be provided below if you require guidance. Let's go through it. Now, prerequisite knowledge. Before starting on this challenge, it is recommended that you familiarize yourself with the principle of SQL injection. If you haven't already, please consider exploring the SQL injection. We did that on the previous module. We should check out that video. Although a comprehensive step-by-step guide will be provided, having a basic understanding of SQL injection principle will prove beneficial in completing this task. Now, challenge objective. Now, your objective in this challenge is to identify and exploit a union SQL injection vulnerability present in the ID parameter of the /about/ID endpoint. Now, by leveraging this vulnerability, your task is to launch an attack to retrieve the notes about the CEO stored in the database. So let's go through the walkthrough together. We know that there is a vulnerability and we know where it is. Now we just need to exploit it. Let's start by capturing a request to this particular URL. Let's copy that. Okay, so capture that request in the Burp proxy. Once again, you have captured the request, we send it to repeater or Ctrl+R, or by right clicking and choosing send to request. Let's go back to our Chromium browser right here. Let's paste this particular address here, send, and that should have been captured already on our proxy. Let's go back to proxy and for this, and here we go about /2 right here. Copy this and send that to repeater. We'll come over to repeater, we get that right here. Okay, now that we have our request primed, let's confirm the vulnerability exists. Adding a single apostrophe is usually enough to cause the server to error when a simple SQLI is present. So usually that's the best practice of testing if a vulnerability exists. Let's quickly send first, and you see we got a response right here, right? Okay, it's about Olivia Persons and so on and so forth, the HTML code. Now let's come over here to the about to and put an apostrophe right here and hit send. Okay, once we send, did we get an error? Yes, we got an error. 500 internal server error message just appeared right here. Okay, so now that we've done that, you should see that the server responds to the 500 internal server error, indicating that we successfully broke the query. Yeah, now next is, if we look through the body of the server's response, we see something very interesting at around line 40. So I'm going to scroll down a little bit. So let's get onto line 40 on the information. Here you can see invalid statement, select first name, last name, PFP link, role, bio from people where ID equals to 2. Very interesting, right? Now this is extremely important because this is an extremely useful error message that the server should absolutely not be sending to us. But the fact that we have it makes our job significantly more straightforward. Now the message tells us a couple of things that will be invaluable when exploiting this vulnerability. And the database table we are selecting from is called people from people. Now the query selects 5 columns from the table, which is the first name, the last name, the PFP link, the role, and the bio. Okay, we can guess where this fits into the page, which will be helpful for when we choose where to place our request. Now with these informations, we can now skip over the query column number and table name enumeration steps because we already got that figured. So although we have managed to cut out a lot of enumeration required here, we still need to find the name of our target column. So as we know the table name and the number of rows, we can use a union query to select the column's name for the people table from the columns table in the information schema default database. Now a simple query for this is as follows: about, and then we take out that 2 and apostrophe right there and imbibe 0 union all select column null, because we are not interested in the other informations which involve the particular first name which involves the last name, PFP link, role, and all that. So this is what we're going to use. We just copy that. Let's just use that straight away. So we'll come over here and then paste that there, and then we hit send. Okay, I made a mistake. So basically I imputed more than one about and one apostrophe, so let's take that out. So let's hit send now, and we should get a good response that says about an ID none. So this basically creates a union query and select our target, then 4 null columns to avoid the query erroring out. Notice that we also change the ID that we were selecting from 2 to 0. Okay, now by setting the ID to an invalid number, we ensure that we don't retrieve anything with the original or legitimate query. So this means that the first row returned from the database will be our desired response from the injected query, which is basically the about false and the pipe ID. Okay, now looking through the returned response, we can see the first column name ID has been inserted into the page title, just like we see here, just like we can see here right here. Okay, all right, now we have successfully pulled the first column name out of the database, but we now have a problem. The page is only displaying the first matching item. We need to see all of the matching items, right? So this is where we use group concat. All right, fortunately we can use our SQLI to group the results. We can still only retrieve one result at a time, but by using the group concat function, we can amalgamate all the column names into the single output. So I'm going to copy this again and let's just run that out. Let's clear that out, paste, So I'm going to remove one of this question, / and then hit send. And voila. No, there's a mistake, right? From here, I'm just going to copy from here. Ctrl C. I'm going to from here. I'm going to take that out right up to this point. Ctrl V, and I'm going to hit send, and that should give us here. So as you can see here, about, first name, ID, first name, last name, PFS rule, and all that. Bio, notes. We got notes and then none. So let's see something now. We have successfully identified 8 columns in this table: ID, first name, last name, PF link, role, short role, bio, and notes, just like you can see. Considering our attacks, it seems a safe bet that our target columns is in notes, because we needed to see the notes from the CEO. Finally, we are ready to take the flag from the database. What we need to do is we just have all the information that we need: the name of the table people, the name of the target column, notes, the ID of the CEO is 1. This can be found simply by clicking on Jameson's Wolf profile on that particular about page and checking the ID in the URL. So let's craft a query to extract the file. So we're going to use this. I'm going to just go notes and then where ID equals to 1, Ctrl C, and that's in all select, and copy that to this point right here, Ctrl V, and let's hit send, and let's see. Voila, we got our flag, right? Got our flag right there. Hey presto, we have our flag. So this they covered it, but we got ours, right? So we just followed the walkthrough, just like they presented right there. So that's it. We exploited the Union SQL injection vulnerability in the site, and let's hit submit, and voila, we got that. Let's head on to the last task 9. Congratulations on completing the Burp Suite repeater room. By now, you should have a solid understanding of effectively utilizing repeater to edit, manipulate, and resend requests. Additionally, you should have gained insight into the numerous practical applications of these two. In the next room of the module, we'll explore the Burp Suite intruder module. Intruder allows for automated and customizable attacks, making it a powerful tool for various security testing scenarios. Good luck with the next room and enjoy exploring the capability of Burp Suite intruder. Okay, I'll see you guys in the next video for that. I can use Burp Suite repeater. Yeah, completed. And that brings us to the end of the room right here. Thank you guys for learning with me. Thank you for studying with me. I'll see you guys in the next room, and enjoy the rest of your day. Ciao.